You know I'm right, the podcast that uncovers the origin stories of some of the biggest names in sports, media, entertainment, entrepreneurship, and so much more. Nick Durst here along with Joe Calabrese. And Joe, we're very excited for our guest today. And there's an interesting story about how you met him as well.
Absolutely. As everybody knows, David Meltzer, terrific friend and resource for this particular show, has those VIP dinners, loves when I attend. I told him to get it in writing. As of now, he's still working on that. But through Dave, we get to meet some amazing, tremendous people, especially people who work in the sports marketing and talent management fields. So we welcome the founder of GSC Worldwide, somebody with about 3 decades of experience in the industry, somebody we're very, very happy to have on, and somebody with connections to several major name athletes and professional brands across the world. Russ Spielman. Russ, welcome to the show. How you doing today, pal?
I'm great. Appreciate it, guys. Great to see you.
Russ, you have a lot going on. Obviously, your phone is probably your lifeline a lot. What's that first app you have to check every day when you wake up?
Well, that's a great question. I actually usually sync my Garmin first just to track my sleep and see if I got any. And truth is, I don't get a lot. That's pretty much the place I squeeze. The only place you could squeeze time and maximize the day is just giving up some sleep. Unfortunately, that's what I have to do.
So what time are you typically attempting to get in bed? And I'm assuming you're like a 4 o'clock a.m. alarm guy getting up, right?
No, not that bad. 5:30,
Okay.
5:25 usually.
Fair
And
enough.
and frankly, at this point, I'm up before the alarm. It's just habit. My body's just trained for that. It's unfortunate. It's tough when you're traveling and I'm on the
Yeah.
West Coast or wherever. You're up pretty darn early.
Make it work. So you live in Melville, Long Island with your family. So how difficult is it to get everywhere from Melville, especially Manhattan? What's that commute like? And also Long Island guy, so growing up, which sports teams were you a big fan of?
I was well, I mean, first getting to New York, that's all, we all made this choice to live on this island for some reason. And you know, you just deal with traffic and you have to plan for it. So I don't really accept that excuse when people are like there was traffic, like news for you. There is perpetually traffic, plan for it. And by the way, Waze and everything else is pretty insightful these days, so you can kind of figure out how long it's going to take. But Long Island Railroad, it's the best worst enemy I have, and you could still rely on the consistency. It's still, no matter what, for me, my commute's an hour on the train, and that's pretty consistent. And you can get a lot done on the train. So in the morning, I'm going through all the daily newsletters and everything that I do just to catch up on last night's events and catch up on insights and trends and things like that. And literally in the mornings, I look up and there I am. I'm in Manhattan already. So it's not so bad. And fortunately with COVID, people did learn that working remotely is okay. So I'm not really doing it 5 days a week either. And then,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what does your balance look like from like a week to week perspective?
well, I think during COVID, we figured out, the family figured out they don't want me home 5 days a week. And I figured out I didn't want to be in the city 5 days a week. So it's 3-2, 2-3, kind of work it out that way.
All right.
Very
How,
good.
how about those sports teams growing up? What were you a fan of?
Sports teams, I grew up, I was a New York sports fan, except I was a front runner in 1979 when the Rams made the Super Bowl. And I just
Mm.
jumped on the Rams bandwagon, and Jack Youngblood was my hero. And, that year he was playing with a broken leg in the playoffs. And I thought that at, 9 years old, I thought that was the toughest human being alive. And, always became my hero and inspiration. And very fortunately, I've got to know Jack, hang out with him, spend some time, bring him some opportunities, smoke cigars with him. And it's really cool. They say never meet your heroes. And I will disagree because Jack is just awesome. He's a great, great dude. But it's New York. But honestly, now at this point, my fandom is our clients.
Yeah.
I've completely lost my fandom, and I root for whoever we represent and whatever they're doing. And that's what drives me now.
Not the
I will
first
say
time that we've
this. I
heard
will
that
give a
answer on this
caveat that
show.
my youngest daughter is she just finished she's about to start junior year at University of Florida. And last year's basketball championship run might have been the most enjoyable sporting experience of my life. I just enjoyed every minute of that and enjoying it with her and as the family and just letting them, live vicariously through her. That was just awesome.
Well, like I was saying, that's not the first time we heard that particular answer. In the case of Nick, he's a Johnny, right? So Florida came out of that region last year, won the championship. So we're hoping that Patino, building off of what the Johnnies did last year, can kind of keep that consistency and kind of keep St. John's in the national championship conversation. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about your background, getting your bachelor's degree in sports management at UMass. And Nick mentioned your family life living on Long Island now. It is there where you met your wife, Jennifer. So talk about that.
Yeah, sure. We met at UMass, her first night of college. Didn't start dating until second semester, but literally first night, and I told one of my buddies, I said, I think I just met my wife. I'm a year older, so, and it worked out. Here we are. Next year's 30 years married, so it's pretty wild, and you don't even get credit for all the years that we dated too. So we've been together a majority of our lives, and it's been great. So we have three kids together, and we actually married off our oldest daughter last or now 2 months, 5, 6 weeks ago in June, the end of June. So I looked at a friend at the wedding and I said, wow, we're up to this phase now. And it's just wild how it all goes so quickly. So three kids, and it's been wonderful, and it's been an amazing journey, and I'm so glad to share it with her and our three great kids, and just see them flourish and start their lives. Our other son just graduated Wisconsin in May, and just trying to find his way into his next phase of his life, and it's pretty cool to see them all
Yeah,
find their unique journeys.
time goes by very fast. I mean, you're staring down an empty nest here really soon. I
Yeah.
mean, you probably think in your mind like I was just in college. Like this is crazy.
We say all the time, we're 12. How is this happening?
Man, definitely.
Yeah.
So for you though, it's been a great successful career right now. So talk to me about the key differences between when you obtained your first job in sports marketing versus the talent management, and how do you think that has really changed from the 90s to today, where we're so digital and social media heavy? And if somebody in college right now is looking to get in the realm of talent management or something with sports, what kind of experience should they be trying to seek out while in college?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with the change first. I mean, we went from my first job out of school at PSP, and you know, Amy Ehrlich was my first boss. She was a UMass grad too, so dipped back into UMass to find interns, and I was fortunate enough that she gave me that opportunity. And then when I went back to school, called me and said, "Hey, I got a job waiting for you upon graduation," and that was the most amazing thing in the world for me. But I mean, the technology has changed so much. I'm really dating myself here, but I'd buy USA Today or The National at the time, and I'd rip out the schedules and put them on the walls because we didn't even know, if you needed the Mets and Yankees, and we were doing business at my first job at PSP in college football and professional basketball and every major sport, but we really didn't know the schedules unless I saved them. Now obviously you don't think about things like that for a second. And, we didn't even have cell phones. And so getting in touch with an athlete to make an appearance was like I'd call the house and, their spouse would say, "Oh, they left." Okay. And I'd tell the client, "Well, they left, an hour ago. They should be here any second." And I'd run to a payphone and check again, and that was it. And we obviously advanced, leaps and bounds now, and it's unbelievable to think about it. I was just telling the story the other day about Super Bowl when we would plan out appearance after appearance after appearance, and we would spend weeks leading up to Super Bowl, mapping out the route that everybody would have to take if this player was going to go from the Hilton to the convention center to the Sheraton and all that. We'd have it all mapped out and color coded and carry these big binders. And then all of a sudden the athlete would say, "Oh, by the way, I got to go stop by, and see someone at this other restaurant." I'd be like, "Wait, my brain can't compute that. We don't have that mapped out. We don't have it color coded." So like those first couple of years when we stopped carrying these big thick binders and you just had like GPS in your car, it was a game changer for us. That was like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Did
What
you
would
all
that?
have to solve? Wait, did you save almanacs and all that kind of stuff back then too?
Did we save what? I'm sorry.
Almanacs. You remember the almanacs that had like
Oh
the
yeah.
listed? Yeah.
We had it all. Yeah. I mean, or I was, yeah, we would like go to, and then MapQuest started and would have all these maps printed out and written, but it was all very, very rudimentary. And somehow we made it all work. So it's kind of funny how we are relying on everything now, but we still did all the same things back then, just without all the technology to assist us.
Yeah. What was your first Radio Row like? And do you think that Radio Row has kind of hit its peak and is on its way downward now? Because I'm noticing a lot of big media companies, they're not sending their shows to Radio Row anymore. But I'm curious from your perspective how it works.
I mean, well, first off, I guess you're dating yourself because we don't even call it Radio Row anymore. Old people like us do, but it's Media Row now, right? So the radio stations certainly are not. We're not sending as much. But no, I think that we still haven't seen the peak of this mountain. You just keep seeing more and more. It's just getting bigger. They're getting bigger outlets. You're getting bigger personalities walking around. You're definitely seeing a shift, but I think all the social media companies and all the content companies are still there, and people are using this, like Hollywood is using this as a brand and a platform to promote stuff. So I think it's going to continue to exist and it's going to keep flourishing.
So, what were some of your other roles early in your career? And did those phone calls, cold calls, those types of things that you did shape your approach moving forward?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I started the first job at PSP. I was more on the buy side. And what I was doing was planning, we had these game day programs and there was a lot of media. In conjunction with the media, you got certain benefits. You got tickets to the Super Bowl or trips to the Super Bowl, tailgate parties, trips to the Final Four. And I was in planning all those things. And what happened was I was booking a lot of athletes to make appearances at events I was planning. And at that stage in my life, as a, let's say, talent buyer, I recognized I was just spending money. And there's nothing wrong with spending money. And I respect it and appreciate how hard a job that is too. But I thought for me personally, the best way to get upside was to get on the sales side. And if you're bringing in revenue, I felt like my income was unlimited. So what I ended up doing was I went very aggressively. ISI and Steve Rosner was a guy I was booking a lot of talent from, and I was able to convince him that if I'm booking a lot of talent, perhaps you'd be interested in letting me come sell talent for you. And I was able to persuade him to hire me, and that's why I went over there and just sort of shifted sides, but the same business. So I think I learned a tremendous amount. So I feel like I understand. That's what I was able to convince Steve too. I understand what it's like to buy talent. So if I'm trying to sell talent, I know what the buyer wants.
Yeah. So 2004, you branch out on your own. You co-found the agency Sports Management. So first off, what's it like building an agency from scratch essentially? And then talk to us in 2011 when you merge and you become TLA, and what went into a big merger like that and getting everybody on the same page.
Yeah. Look, I mean, we were just a piece of that merger, but listen, it was tremendous. It was really tremendous with Jordan Bejan, my partner Andrew, who's still my partner today, and Peter Raskin, and just really great, smart guys. We had a heck of a lot of fun. We did some really cool projects, and you get up every morning and you're like, there's no income coming in unless I do something. And it's really inspiring and motivating to just get up. And we got involved in so many cool projects and some things that really moved the needle. And those guys, I respect the heck out of all of them, and they're really still very successful to this day. And it was hard charging guys, and it pushed me to be better at what I did. And we all pushed each other and complimented each other and got involved in some really cool projects. I still joke around, we should all be retired if Starberry didn't overly expand and get overly aggressive. I mean, that was our Air Jordan right there. That was going so well and everybody was benefiting and profiting.
I remember
Uh,
those shoes being very affordable when I was in middle school. Stephen Barry's, go
That
there.
was it, Stephen
Those.
Barry's, and it was something. It was an amazing concept, and it was an amazing run. And I think they just got overly aggressive and overly expanded, and then couldn't keep up with their expense side of the ledger. But it was great, and I really loved, and I have so much respect and appreciation for any entrepreneur. And while we're not like a small little startup shop anymore, now TLA became GSC, and we're not a small startup, but anytime I talk to people that are just starting off, I'm rooting for them so much because I just know how hard it is, but how rewarding it can be too. So, I learned so much from that. And then getting into this next iteration and, brought a lot of us back together when we became TLA. Excuse me. There was a lot of people that we knew, and Mike Principi was putting that all together, and we knew him from the SFX days and had a lot of respect and appreciation for him. So it was fun sort of bringing the band back together and just try and take a different ride. Okay, we did it this small size. Let's try a bigger size and see what that could become. And it's been a wild ride. It's been really, so I feel like I've been at almost every size agency at this point. And then, when we came together, and it was 2011 then, and looking at other things, I personally didn't want to start over again. That was right size for me. And that's what I felt like I wanted to stay and keep riding that out and see what we can make of a little bigger agency.
So let's continue talking about the logo behind you, the GSC logo.
Yeah.
At the time, because at this point you've been working in the field for multiple decades, what gaps in the market specifically were you looking to fill? Was there anything in particular there that you thought that other agencies weren't necessarily providing and that you thought that you and your team could? And how did that modern vision for the agency ultimately take shape?
I mean, look, there's a tremendous proliferation of agencies now. So to almost find a completely pristine space is really, really hard. We felt like we had some really good success that we could leverage and grow and get a little deeper in a couple specific sports before we started expanding and going into other areas, which we've really been doing a lot more now lately. But it was just sort of like, let's really focus on our clients. Let's continue to maintain a really good ratio of agent and salespeople to clients. So we felt like, hey, the leaders of the business are the ones we'll recruit you, but we're also going to represent you. We're going to sell you. We're going to be involved. We never wanted to be some agency where we go in and we pitch and then you never hear from me or see me again. So that's where we felt, we're really proud of the work we're doing and the things that we've done. I mean, we're still, we're ranked ninth biggest agency in the world. So I think we're trending in a good direction, and we've been able to now play in a different level just through private equity investments and helping us to grow and expand. Like organic growth and brick by brick, it's great, but it's hard. And you see some of the really most successful agencies at this point have been able to take on investors and cut a few corners. I mean, you're not just, money doesn't just buy success. You see it in professional sports too. It's not the team that has the biggest salary expenditure is the most successful. You still have to make some good, smart decisions on personnel. And we have the same thing. We have to make good, smart decisions on the people we hire, the people we represent, and then we still have to go hustle.
Absolutely. And that's the key to everything, really. You gotta
Yeah.
get the job done at a certain point, and you do that for a lot of clients over the years. Over your whole span of your career, do you have a favorite client? There's just somebody that meant more because of what it led to, and give us, either a memorable moment or a story or event you got to attend over the years that really stood out to you, and you're thankful for your clients for getting you to that point?
I mean, my favorite client is absolutely the one I'm standing next to at the time. And people ask me when I'm standing in front of a client, who else do you represent? And I say nobody. I represent this person. That's why I'm here. I'm fortunate enough to be there. I'm also so fortunate. I've been to so many amazing things. I don't even know. I've lost track of how many Super Bowls and how many Masters and Final Fours and World Series and All-Star games. And there's definitely some events I haven't been to. I mean, some things that stand out. I mean, I've been fortunate to, whether it was, I don't know, Jameis Winston, the number one draft pick overall, and being part of that, Steve Young getting into the Pro Hall of Fame. And I'll never forget Steve Young Super Bowl 40 when they celebrated all the years of the first 40 years of Super Bowl MVPs. And Steve was calling the game for ABC at the time, and his wife was pregnant. And Steve said, "Hey, can you just keep an eye on Barb? We have these two suite tickets with all the other MVPs. Keep an eye on Barb and make sure she's okay while I'm broadcasting." And I said, "Sure." So Super Bowl 40, I watched the Super Bowl with the first 40 years of Super Bowl MVPs in a suite. And, I can't even tell you how many times, like, that was the most amazing experience just watching with the history of the Super Bowl. But I can't even tell you how many times I look and say, who am I? Why am I here? How did I get here? And it's still, Bo Jackson's a client, and he looks at his phone and picks it up and says, "I got to call Russ." And I see that coming in. I'm like, Bo Jackson's calling me. And I've worked with him for a very long time, but I'm like, wow, Bo Jackson thought of me and he's calling me. It's still pretty cool. But there's been so many countless amazing memories and opportunities and things like that. I was just laughing to myself. I was thinking, I remember my wife was pregnant. I was with Barry Zito at the time. My wife was like 9.5 months pregnant, and Barry just won World Series MVP. I'm sorry, he just won the Cy
Oh,
Young,
yeah.
and I had him on like this media tour. I was bringing him around a corporate tour all around New York City, and I just said to Barry at the beginning of the day, I said, "Hey man, my wife is about to give birth in 10 minutes ago. So if this happens, we walk into like one of the first meetings, my phone rings, it's my wife. I look at Barry, I go, Barry, I gotta go. Barry, Joe, Barry, good luck, guys." And I walked out. And that was it. And I hopped on the train and went home, and yeah, my son was born.
It's amazing. Is there any event in particular that you could think of off the top of your head that you would like to attend, maybe for personal reasons?
That I'd like to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say the wife and I and my youngest daughter, we've been targeting Kentucky Derby next year.
Mm.
Oh,
I've never been to the Derby, and
that
my
makes
wife
two
and
of
I.
us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've
The
never
Joe's
been
Derby's
there.
huge in
amazing.
horse racing.
I'm huge in horse racing.
Are
And
you? And you
Uncle, you
never been to
so
the Derby?
never
Just
been to the
Belmont,
Derby.
he's been to. That's
Just the
it.
Belmont.
Saratoga?
We've been to Saratoga once before.
All right.
My uncle periodically goes up through the years. But we've been the friend group has been to a couple of the Belmont Stakes races, including the American Pharoah win.
My So we got married on Cinco de Mayo, and then coincidentally, our youngest daughter was born on Cinco de Mayo. So we share that day. And next year is her 21st and our 30th wedding anniversary which is basically Derby weekend.
Yeah.
Gotta
So
go.
that's
Gotta make it
something
happen.
we've been talking about for a long time. So I think that's the plan. And that's an event we've never been to, any of us.
Then the Derby is the one you want to be at now because with the way horse racing is going, you got the Kentucky Derby winner is sitting out the Preakness, the comeback for Belmont. Belmont's taking place in Saratoga. It's just a mess. So hopefully one day
Yeah.
horse racing can get back to being how awesome it once was, Joe. Because I know you love your Triple Crown.
I do love my Triple Crown. Unfortunately, though, sometimes the decision to not run the Preakness is because of the horse's health, right? So that's understandable. But yeah, listen, Russ, if you're there next year, let's make it happen. I have
Okay.
friends who are in Louisville who he has basically opened up his basement to his brand new home to me in the event that I want to go to the
There you
Derby
go.
next
You'll be
year.
meeting up with
So
Russ on Cinco de Mayo to
Be
celebrate
Joe
his
and the
anniversary in
Spielmans.
Kentucky.
Joe and the Spielmans in the basement. Sounds great.
sounds like a 1960s Motown group. All right, so let's move on here quick. Through your experience working on behalf of Fortune 500 companies and clients and seeing how Fortune 500 companies operate. What is the key to getting both the athlete and the brand, and whatever wherever you're working? What is the key to getting both sides walking away from the table feeling like winners?
I think first off, understanding expectations going into it. You really need to just understand their objectives and knowing our clients and trying to put them in a position to succeed. If you have a client that just is not comfortable giving a keynote, I can't force them to go do a keynote. So we have to understand who our clients are, what their goals and objectives are, and same for the company. So what we do try and sit down with our clients. Obviously, you can continue as they grow and evolve in their lives, but just who are they? What do they want to accomplish? What do they want to achieve? How do they want to leverage their notoriety? And it could be I just want to make a lot of money. It could be I want to do things to change the world. I want to get involved in business, broadcasting, whatever it may be. So understanding them a little bit more, and then trying to put them in positions that will help them be successful. And the same thing with the companies too, just sort of trying to be detailed and understanding on the way in. Who are your clients? We encourage our young salespeople, like before you even pick up the phone or shoot that text or that email or DM, really think about the person on the other side. What is it that they want to achieve? What is their business objective? Because the person running that car wash, obviously NIL, we're doing a lot of local calls. The person running the car wash is all they're thinking about when they wake up is how do I get more people to wash their cars? So if we go into each call and each meeting and each presentation trying to think about how can we leverage the skill set and the exposure and everything else that our athletes bring to the table to benefit them, that's going to be a successful partnership.
Yeah.
And look, we want them to, it's a lot easier to work on renewals than original deals. So once you're working together, all we want to do is keep working together, provided it went well for everybody. So it's in our best interest and it behooves us to make sure this thing works.
Yeah. So we've asked other people who are in similar positions as you are this question. So I'm curious to get your answer here. But when you have a client who wants to go into broadcasting, how early during their playing career do you start getting those wheels in motion to set them up for the post playing career of broadcasting?
Well, I mean, we used to say all the time, hey, you should probably get started. To
Right.
now, we're signing them and they already have their own podcast.
Yeah.
Everybody has a social media megaphone now. So there's never too early at this point. And, obviously, as we recruit younger and younger, um, they're already in this space. And broadcasting it's a catch-all, but there's so many different means and ways to do it. But obviously everyone can have a podcast or you could just be promoting. We're spending a lot more time on YouTube for our clients than we have in the past. So it's going to continue to shift and evolve. We have a full-time digital team now that's what they work on is just helping clients in the digital space. So there's never, we used to say, like I said earlier, hey, you should get started so you're ready for post career you can't even wait. You have to be doing, if it's an aspiration for you, then you got to start right away.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned social media, digital media, it's huge. So kind of walk us through the big changes in that area where early on in your career, maybe you're trying to book somebody for a commercial or a newspaper ad to now maybe you're booking them to make a social media post. How has that whole landscape changed?
It's changed so much where it used to be a selling point where now it's become a requirement. It used to be, and it still is a selling point where you're like, well, this person is particularly proficient, or this person has a tremendous following. But it used to just be, oh, they're on social media, they have a good following. It is a requirement, but now it's gotten to the point that if you're not good at it and you don't have a minimum amount of numbers, we're telling them you're just being ruled out of the conversation. We have certain clients that either aren't active or just don't have a good following, and they're not even, proverbial getting the bat in their hands, where they're ruled out from these lists of suggestions because they don't have it.
Right.
So that part has happened. It depends on the particular client. I will say we help some more than others. Some don't want us near it. They do a great job. We'll use that as some of the things that we sell as part of the partnerships, but others are like, here's my password. You guys could do the posts for me, just or let me see it first, let me approve it. But a lot of these things have gotten pretty complicated and sophisticated too. And then there's all the follow-up after where then the client wants the analytics. And it's hard for us, a player in season, when I'm telling them you have to make this post with this swipe up tag and this link and then that. And
Hmm.
then 3 days later, I'm asking for the analytics on the post. And the player's like, I got meetings, I got this.
Yeah.
So it's good if we can get the access. I think it just helps everybody. But, it's very personal too. So I respect anyone that doesn't want us to help.
Yeah, as someone personally who's done social media for high level NFL stars and high level entertainment and CEOs, like
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about when you're like, hey, where is this? You got to get this. We need this selfie video. It has to be the deadline's now. I don't want to do this. I got 15 things to do, so I definitely know exactly what you're talking about. Relate very well.
But I think a lot of it is you got to know your clients too.
Yes.
So
Right.
before you put these partnerships together, like I just got something for one of our clients, and it was all right, UGC, right? User generated
Yep.
content, and we already know, like before I send it to him, I'm gonna say, and we're gonna hire a videographer to come to you and shoot all the content. Because if I sent it as is, I already know it's a pass. And I know even if we somehow convinced him he wouldn't do a good job. But if we're willing to hire a videographer and happens to be someone that we've worked with and he's worked with in the past, we're positioning ourselves for success. So it's truly understanding their level of comfort on social media. Some people are like, I'll do it, but I can't shoot it myself. I'm not capable or I can't edit. And,
Yeah.
during the NIL stuff and during COVID, they really put a tremendous amount of expectations on the client, the athletes themselves. And, I remember one thing that we did, and I said, this is awesome. What time are you guys sending the crew and you're sending the CGI team to work this all out? As a college basketball player, and they wanted him to dunk and they wanted him to spin a ball and like do all these different things. And I'm like, he's one guy on a college campus. How
Crazy.
are we
Right.
doing all this?
That's insane.
So, yeah.
Uh, Little therapeutic there for Nick, being able to get all of that out. Uh,
I'll tell
uh,
Russ after this call when my
yeah,
clients were.
that's right. That's right. Let's move on. We'll start to wrap up here in a little bit, Russ. Uh, Very loaded question, but let's see if you have an answer. Your proudest career achievement so far?
I mean, I can't point to one deal. I'm working on one thing that if this comes to fruition, will be. And I don't know if it's going to work, but it will
Okay.
be. I'll have to come back to the show and tell you guys. I mean,
Mm,
honestly, I think I'm sure this is too of evading the question, but it's really managing to provide for my family and survive and work in this industry for, I think it's 33 years now. And it's unbelievable. And I feel terrible that I can't help more people get in. And I'm just inundated with people that want to be in this. And I am so fortunate and so lucky that I have been able to do this for such an extended period of time. Um, that it's just, I think that's the biggest accomplishment is to be able to survive and succeed at whatever level that I'm at and to succeed and provide for my family and do everything that we've done and have so many unbelievable, just mind-boggling experiences that I
Yeah.
never thought would be possible. The fact that I could sit here and I can't even count the number of masters I've been to. And I can't count the number of Super Bowls I've been to. I lost track. Like little me would be like, "Are you kidding me?" Like one. Like if I just wanted to get to one of those things.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite arena or stadium you've attended?
Augusta National.
Okay.
That's it. I know it's not an arena
No
or stadium,
phones,
but
old
No
school, just
phones, old
enjoy
school. Yeah.
cheap food.
there is nothing better that this business has afforded me than my ability to get to Augusta National. I'm so grateful, and every year my wife asks me, "Why are you going?" And I said, "Because I can."
There you go.
And that is it. It is the most enjoyable, amazing experience. And I think the fact that we put our phones down and you are present the whole time is just another added level. And nobody gets mad if you don't call them back when you say, and they just get mad or jealous when you call and say, "Sorry, I couldn't call you back. I was at the Masters."
Fair enough. So I
Maybe
was
Joe will see if I say the same about Churchill Downs.
Churchill Downs.
Yeah.
The only problem with Churchill is always seems to be pouring rain in the last like
I
6 years,
know.
but we'll see.
I know.
So
That's
obviously,
right.
Russ, the sports calendar, it works in a cycle. So I'm curious, how far in advance do you start planning out your events? And with big events that usually don't happen too often, like let's say the Olympics or like 2028 Olympics are going to be here in the US. So something like that. How does that maybe throw a wrench into your usual calendar?
I mean, our agency doesn't necessarily focus on the Olympics, so that specific one doesn't. But like Ryder Cup is happening, 10 minutes from my
Right.
house, and we're a big golf agency, so that throws like, all right, stop what you're doing. We do have to focus on this for a little while. Our U.S. Open is at Shinnecock next year, also, kind of in my backyard. So those will require the pivots, but the calendar and the cadence of everything, we already know, obviously, Super Bowl, working with Steve Young and Super Bowl coming up in San Francisco might take a little more attention and earlier focus than another Super Bowl where maybe we don't have such a significant personality associated with that city. But for the most part, it's nonstop because we're in multiple sports. I've never been in a one sport agency where I know September is our big start of the NFL season or something like that. For us, it's always, right now it's US Open tennis is about to start. And then before you know it, it's the start of the NFL season. And then it's Super Bowl. And the NFL is beyond 12 months a year. The NFL, there is zero off season. So you're either doing stuff in season or you're working with players and shooting content and shooting commercials prior to the start of the season or now. We've been fortunate to have draft happen in cities that we had big personalities. So the NFL made draft a tremendous, it's a mini Super Bowl. And I thank the NFL all the time for giving us these gifts. And draft has become a big thing. And then there's just so many, and now Cannes Lions has become a big thing, and I haven't even been, so I think next year we'll be there. And there's all these new things. It is 12 months a year. There's always someone that's trying to out hustle you, so we
Uh,
just need to be everywhere at every time as best we can.
Well, Russ, I think before long you'll be at an Olympics doing flag football if they have the NFL stars. So
I think so, and I think we
something,
got a
something
great
to future.
captain or coach over in Steve Young too. They should do
Yeah.
that. We've
There
been
you
working
go.
on that.
So Russ, you've done it all as far as everything within sports management, sports agent stuff. So for a young person looking to get into the sports field as an agent or a manager, what advice would you give them on where to get started?
I mean, NIL did change everything. That the barrier to entry doesn't exist. And with social media, the barrier to entry doesn't exist anymore. If you want to be an agent, all you have to do is get a client and start selling. And if you want to be a broadcaster, you just have to start talking on camera. And so there is, I mean, this is great for the younger generations.
Mhm.
Me as a guy who's been doing this for a while, um, and I'm competing with kids I used to coach in lacrosse and stuff like that. That's interesting, but there's no barrier to entry. You just got to get started and see people doing really tremendous work out there. And it just takes a lot of, you just got to keep going. And again, I feel awful. I talk to a lot of people trying to get in, and I don't have tremendous amount of, here's the magic bullet to get in.
Yeah.
You just got to keep after it. And if, we've hired some people that couldn't find jobs and started their own agencies, whether whatever level of success they achieved, we appreciated the fact that they did it. We appreciated they understood the process. They were willing to put themselves out there and put it all on the line. And they had some level of success, great, small, but they had something that they were bringing to the table as opposed to just a resume and I want to be in and this is my passion and all those cliches. Like that's not getting you the job. It's just being willing to do more than anybody else.
All right, Russ, last question here. In your life or your career, what has been your you know I'm right moment? What I mean by that, it's a time or place where you wanted to pursue something. You asked somebody for advice. They said, Russ, sounds like a bad idea. I don't think you should do it. You told that person, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And in the end, you will see why it is that I'm right about this. And I can tell you, I told you so.
Wow. I wish I prepared for that question. I really have to think. I think it's probably just pursuing certain athletes over the years where it was like, hey, I don't know about this guy or this woman has a bad reputation or something. And I'm like, no, we can work with this. Um, I'm trying to think, where I convinced someone, everyone was talking me out. I don't
So
know.
you,
I
you
think
do
it
your
would
due
probably just be,
diligence on those athletes.
yeah.
So I'm sure you have a big
It's a
background.
great question. It's a tremendous question. It's
The
really a great
signature
question.
question. He stumps people all the time with it.
Okay, I feel a little better. It is a tremendous question. It really is. I'm just trying to think of something where I really bucked the system and said, I got to do this. I mean, I have more of those like, look, I'll say it, what like famous stupid lines like, what am I going to do with a skateboarder? And that guy became Tony Hawk or something like that. Not that he was just sitting at my doorstep, but I remember having these conversations before Tony Hawk was Tony Hawk. And it was like, and I think someone in the office was like, hey, what do you think of this skateboarder? And I, stupid quotes like that. Like, what are you going to do with a skateboarder? What are you going to do with a surfer? What are you going to do with a golfer? Obviously, a lot, a lot. So I think there's probably a lot of those in my career.
Yeah. So it's basically with you, it's like never say never. Someone comes to you, let's do the due diligence and see if there's something that could be done.
Anyone that's ever worked for me knows I have too many cliches, but there is riches and niches. And I think
Riches, I
that's
like
something.
that. I've never heard of that one. Riches
Oh,
and
really?
niches.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and that's what I think we've learned over time is, sometimes you could be the biggest fish in a small pond and do unbelievably well. Really, really well. So you can't scoff at that. It's just for us, or at least me personally, I feel like if I'm not immersed in that sport, it's really hard to get to know the influential people. If you're not going, if you're going to be in motorsports and you're not going to go to the track every weekend, are you
Right.
really in motorsports? So that's why it's like we only have so much bandwidth, and I'd rather spend my time, on a golf course and chasing golfers and tennis players and pickleball and stuff like that,
Oh,
than be
are you a pickleball guy? You play?
a little bit. But our
Okay.
agency does represent some really tremendous pickleball players.
Ah, Nick, the gears are turning over
Joe
here.
knows
Yes.
one of the top ranked pickleballers on the tour that just joined. So.
Oh, really? Today happens to be National Pickleball Day. I don't know if you
Yes, it
knew.
is. Yes, I was going to
Yeah.
mention that. We have a good friend who is part owner of a couple of pickleball places here around the tri-state area. So it's becoming super, super popular. And Nick and I, we've done it once before. We want to try to get together an event. Maybe we would love to have you involved. Obviously, if your
I want to
schedule
see Russ on
permits,
the
sometime
court.
down the
Yeah.
line. Absolutely.
I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm not putting myself on any pedestals there. The other one is like, the old adage, those that can't teach. I
Yep.
I go with those that can't represent those that can.
There we go.
You're full of
Oh,
cliches. Um,
oh, I thought I lost you there.
no, 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 no. You're good. You're good. So I personally have one
I
last
know.
question
Sorry.
because
I'm old.
no, we are. So Nick and I, we're huge pro wrestling fans. So when it comes to the events that I love attending, it's always the big events, right? It's always the WrestleManias. And recently, as we're recording this, SummerSlam that just passed at MetLife Stadium. I've been to a couple of different events, met a couple of different, famous athletes and everybody on the floor. But recently, we've seen ESPN kind of starting to congregate everything, right? So they made the deal with the NFL and Red Zone, and now they've made the deal with WWE, and ESPN's going to broadcast their premium live events. So what do you think at this stage what ESPN is doing? Do you like what they're doing? Do you not like what they're doing?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, it's like both sides are sort of fortifying the moat, that they're just sort of putting their interests together and making sure, uh, that they have a future. Because obviously things with ESPN is changing a little bit, and television and broadcasting is changing a little bit. So they need to do different things. And we've seen this so many times, whether it was Michael Rubin and Tops and how he basically gave ownership to all the teams and leagues to sort of fortify his position. I think that's similar to what ESPN is doing here. That, so now the NFL, are they really going to lose Monday Night Football if the NFL owns
No,
a piece of
that probably
ESPN?
gets Sunday football and the Super Bowl.
Right. So I think that it is smart to sort of protect their flank, I guess. You're making sure that you're ensuring your success. You might be giving up a little. I mean, there's definitely going to be questions about, journalistic integrity
Oh yeah.
going forward, like, right? Are they going to go
Right.
do now another big CTE research project and a whole, E60 series on CTE when their their owners is would be the subject that they're pursuing? Probably not.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of a conflict of interest there.
But
But
look, I think it's smart. I think it's smart from both sides, and there's obviously a tremendously, incredibly successful and smart people making these decisions. And I think it's same with the NFL that they're like, all right, we have so much leverage now. We are going to take a piece of anybody that's doing business with us, and we're going to own this forever. Now, even the NFL, I mean, you see the whole thing. They certainly spent a lot on NFL Network. So, but it's wild to see. And we're all starting to just understand some of the economics. And I was reading this morning that, Red Zone is going to expand. So I think the NFL is going to almost become like a licensing company for the Red Zone assets. So that could be a whole nother thing too.
well, Russ, we appreciate your time. We thank you for doing this with us. I have sincerely just one last question, and then we'll let you go.
Okay.
One athlete, past or present, who you could have worked with or represented. Could be anybody.
I mean, it's Jack Youngblood.
Jack Youngblood.
Who else?
Who else? One of your childhood heroes. Can't believe you're a Rams fan. That's
I
interesting.
know. If
Yeah,
I were in my city office, you would see I have a jersey like this big when I was 9 years old, my Jack Youngblood jersey. My friends used to make me put it on, and it was like this big. So I finally one day I'm like, I better just frame this thing so they can stop making me put it on. So
very,
that's
very
he's
nice.
the best.
Hopefully, one day Nick and I will be able to come to the office. What do you think?
I love it. I love it.
Well, like I said, Russ, we appreciate your time. We thank you for doing this with us. You gave us a little bit of extra time, but it was amazing. Hopefully you enjoyed the questions. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your summer with you and your family. Congrats on everything, you, your wife, your children. Amazing family over there. And what we do is we always give our guests the last word. So, personally speaking, if there's anything else you would personally like to share, or even promote for yourself, by all means, go ahead. And share about the GSC. Where can we find everybody? And what do you have going on coming up?
Yeah, give us a follow at GSC Worldwide. We're on all socials and check out our website and like everybody that I maybe don't have the greatest advice for about how to give it to get into the industry, just don't give up. I mean, that's it. That if you want to be in it, you just keep pursuing and keep pursuing. You only you fail by not trying and just keep going after it. If this is your dream and your passion, even if I don't have the answer for you, somebody does. You just got to keep after it. So
All right, Russ, very well
cool.
said. Thank you for your
Thanks,
time.
guys.
That's going to do it here for this episode of You Know I'm Right. For our special guest, Russ Spielman, my co host, Joe Calabrese, I'm Nick Durst, and this has been You Know I'm Right.